Thanks everyone for joining me for another episode on the Travel Collective. I'm April with your photo travel guide, and today I'm excited to have a conversation about United States travel and pet sitting because pet sitting's become a really big thing. I know a lot of people when they're having me help them plan their travels or they want to join a group tour, they don't want to just send their pet anymore, understandably, to just anywhere. They're a family member. So welcome, Steph.
Thank you.
So tell us about I guess start with, how you got into pet sitting a little bit and what kinds of pets that you enjoy spending time with. I know I just saw your cat.
Yeah. Yes, I do have my own cat, which will feature into this as well. I actually am really new to traveling in the grand scheme of things. I went on a huge trip last year. I'm a solo traveler. So I went on a huge trip at the beginning of 2023. And when I came home, I just realized I have to figure out how I can do this more often. And I was talking to somebody that I met in a Facebook group. We've never actually met in person, but we were just chatting in a Facebook group. And he is a nomad. And so I was just talking to him about that. And he said, well, have you ever heard of pet sitting? And I was like, what do you, I don't know, like, what is that? What do you mean? And so he told me about traveling pet sitting. And so I looked into it and I joined in an app, a platform. And I've been pet sitting for almost a year and a half now.
Oh, wow.
And I started locally because it's the platform I'm in is based on reviews. And so it's important that you're able to get some reviews under your belt. It's in exchange for a place to stay. So there's no money exchanged. So I started locally and then I started traveling with it. And at the end of 2023, I went to Puerto Rico for Thanksgiving and
Oh,
pet sat in
wow.
Puerto Rico. In January 2024, I went to Switzerland and I pet sat in Switzerland. And then I'm very attached to my cat. And so I just missed her so much when I would leave. So I started taking her with me.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, since February, she has been traveling with me. So we've been doing road trips all over the US. This year we've been to 19 states,
Oh,
plus
wow.
Canada, pet sitting. So we've just gone all over the place and we have taken care of just the best pets. We've done farm sits with goats and turkeys and chickens and
Oh,
obviously
wow.
cats and dogs. I've done one with a woman who rescues parakeets and cockatiels, and so she had, I think, 17 rescue birds.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
yeah, I've done a family of 8 chickens. So yeah, we've done horses, just all kinds of really awesome pets. And obviously the people that live with the pets, I've been able to meet some really amazing people just all over the place and had some just really, really amazing travel experiences. So that's been my 2024. I've absolutely been gone more than I've been home. Um, just, yeah, going all kinds of places, mainly all over the US.
No, but that's fabulous. Wow, that is great. So you can share what platforms are out there for people that are either wanting to hire a pet sitter or like you decide, you know what, I want to go see more places and this is a great way to save money, get to stay in local places with, basically
Yeah.
you're in a neighborhood instead of maybe a hotel, which is a different experience.
Yeah, I use the platform called Trusted Housesitters. And so I'll share my referral code for that. It's for both they call it a host because not everybody's a homeowner. So
Oh,
it's for
okay.
both the host and the sitter. It's the same platform. You can even sign up as both. So some people have pet sitters and are pet sitters. So that's the platform that I use. Like I said, there's no money exchanged. It's all referral based. So as a sitter, you make your account and you go in and you can either just on the homepage, it just shows you fits and it's worldwide. It is an English speaking platform. So there's not a lot of sits in countries where English isn't the primary language, but it's very big in the US, in Canada, in Australia, in Europe. Um, so you can either just scroll through the homepage and see where you want to go, or you can search for specific places. You can also filter by date. You can filter by pet type. You can filter by the length of the stay because there's pet sits as short as a weekend or
Right.
as long as months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and even from a location perspective, I'm not a city person. I don't like being in the middle of cities. And so I tend to do rural or kind of outside of the city. So there's locations for everybody.
Oh, wow.
There's rural farm sits, there's condos in the middle of downtown somewhere. I mean, there's just anywhere and everywhere you want to go. There's definitely some states where it's much more popular. Colorado, California. There's some states where if you ever want to go to Colorado as a pet sitter, anytime you can go to Colorado. And then there are some states where it's just not as popular. There's just not as many options. But I've primarily built my travels this year around visiting national parks.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
really because it gives me a direction, it gives me a
Yeah.
focus instead of just randomly wandering.
Right.
But even around that, I can add in anything I want to, but it just gives me a sense of direction. So I think I've done 18 national parks this year,
Oh,
plus
wow.
two in Canada.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the most recent trip, we just came back less than 3 weeks ago. We were gone for 3 months straight.
Oh, you were. Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah. And I think out of those 3 months, I paid for a hotel room maybe 10 days out of the 3 months. So the rest of it, we were taking care of people's pets all over the place.
Oh, nice. So then,
Yeah.
when you're staying with the pets, how does like the food thing work? Do you provide your own food, or does the homeowner sometimes? How does that aspect work?
It's it's different for everybody because it's really up to the host as to what they want to provide. But I always go into every situation fully self-sufficient. So I equate it to staying in an Airbnb,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They don't provide food for you. They don't
Right.
provide, transportation for you. So that's how I think of it. I do know some hosts are just really generous and they will provide, groceries or things like that. Some hosts provide a vehicle.
Oh my gosh.
Um, so it really just depends on the host and the situation. But I always go into it I even take my own laundry pods.
Yeah.
Just because I want to
Right.
be respectful of the fact that this is somebody's home. It's not an Airbnb. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
This is
Yeah.
somebody's home.
Right.
Um, so and with that, I will give a disclaimer. I think some people see pet sitting as a way to get a free place to stay. And I will say that that perspective has really kind of damaged the pet sitting industry because what ends up happening is people become pet sitters with no real intention of taking care of pets, and then
Right.
they end up with bad experiences and the hosts end up with bad experiences and leave the platform. So
Oh, that's too
I will
bad.
say pet sitting is an awesome opportunity for people who are genuinely interested in taking care of people's pets. If your interest is in having a free place to stay, please don't bring that to
Yeah.
pet
No,
sitting.
exactly.
Yeah. And even as a pet owner myself, I mean, if somebody's going to stay with my kitty cat, I definitely want it to be somebody who wants to come take care of my cat.
Right.
So just my disclaimer for that. I think even the platform itself, I think sometimes in its promoting talks about, come stay all over the world. And I think even the platform sometimes markets towards people who are just looking for a place to stay. But it's really
Yeah.
a disservice to all the pets and all the families if people are using it that way.
Oh, I agree. And I think you really have to need to have a true love of taking care of animals. I mean, depending on, I mean, you've mentioned a variety of animals. I mean, if you're taking care of horses and you're there for a week, you may need to like clean their stall. You may need, I mean, there's
Mhm.
tasks that may not be so pretty as such that, you need to be trained and comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. And even for dogs that, might need to be let out every 4 hours, or, there's just responsibilities inherent in being a pet sitter, that you don't, if you're going to go pay for a hotel, you don't have responsibilities. You can go do whatever you want to do. So sometimes I will have a couple days where my kitty and I are in a hotel because then I can go do whatever I want to do. If I know I want
Right.
to be gone for 12 hours, we'll go stay in a hotel in between pet sits. So there's a certain level of responsibility that comes along with pet sitting. But it's just been really fun to be able to travel that way. And I all the different places, like you said, the difference between staying in somebody's home in maybe outside of the city versus a
Yeah.
hotel in the city. It's, you get a local experience. You get to, I there was once that I did where when I would walk the dogs, I would just meet people in the neighborhood.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and it was just really cool to just have little conversations with people who live in the neighborhood there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a definitely a much more immersive way to experience a location than and you can get recommendations from the host of, if you want recommendations for places to eat,
Right.
coffee shops, bookstores, For me, it's hiking. I'm a big hiker. So I
Oh,
always say,
nice.
where
Yeah.
where are the places to go hiking around here?
Yeah, exactly. So traveling with your cat, are there certain hotels and chains that are more pet friendly, you would say? Because I mean, even traveling with your cat, like you said, you need a place that is going to accept cats. Some places I notice charge, some don't. So maybe share a little bit
Yeah,
about that.
I will say that to me my cat is so adaptable and easygoing that traveling with her is not difficult. I don't recommend road tripping with a cat in general. My cat is just a different kind of cat.
Yeah.
But that is the hardest part about traveling with her is when we're not pet sitting, is finding places to stay. Because just like you said, and one of the things I learned is that pet friendly doesn't always mean cat friendly.
Yes, right.
And so some places won't allow cats because they're afraid they're going to pee, which my cat has never peed outside of her litter box. They're afraid they're going to scratch carpet, furniture. I take a scratching post with us.
Yeah.
But we've had that happen twice where I've booked a hotel through a platform, like
Right.
not straight through the hotel, but a third party platform. And I always filter for pet friendly. And
Right.
then we've shown up and they said, oh, we don't take cats. So that's happened to us twice where we've had to go find other accommodations. The pet fee, I personally don't understand a pet. I understand a pet deposit,
Right,
but a
right.
pet fee, you would never even know my cat's there. I take her litter box. You would never even know that she's there, much less than a child. She's
Right,
not kicking
right.
the walls. She's not jumping on the bed. So that the pet fees can definitely add up. $25 is pretty typical. I booked a hotel one time that when I got there, they told me it was $50 a night
Wow.
and we left.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just not even reasonable. Um, Red Roof Inn does not charge for the first pet, and
Hmm.
I only have one. So they're not everywhere,
Right.
but if we're going somewhere where they are, that's where we stay because they don't charge for the first pet. And again, depending on how many days you're spending in a hotel, a pet fee really adds up if
Yeah,
you're
it will.
5 days, 10 days, whatever. So Other than that, I don't know of other chains. I tend to go through a third-party booking platform and then I'll look at their policies and see how much they charge, or I'll call ahead of time and see how much they charge. But 20, $25 is pretty typical. It's just like it really adds up. And again, to me, it's pointless because she's not doing anything. Again, a deposit I could understand.
Right, right,
To
exactly.
me, just doesn't make sense.
Right.
But
And
it is what it is.
right,
So,
exactly. But it is something to check out ahead of time and
mhm.
find out. And that phone call, I always encourage people to make a phone call because, yeah, if it's late at night, you don't want to show up and then realize, like, oh, this isn't going to work out. I mean,
Yeah.
$50 is a lot extra.
Yes.
That can really bite into someone's travel budget.
It's almost a second room.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Right.
mean, the place where we stayed, where I had booked, it was almost the cost of a second room just to
Yeah.
have her there. I mean, yeah.
So talk a little bit about national parks and do you take your cat into the national parks with you?
Sometimes, most national parks don't allow pets on the trails because of the wildlife, right? They're
Yeah,
national park.
right.
And so even though she doesn't go on a leash, she's actually not totally used to people. We kind of live in a bubble. So
Right.
she's really good with other pets, but people, she's not as used to yet. So I have taken her on a leash before, and she gets spooked when there are people. But I have a backpack
I was
carrier
just
for
gonna
her.
ask. Yeah.
So we did go, actually, one of our last days on our last trip, we went to Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado, and
Yeah.
pets are allowed there.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so I put her in her backpack and we went up and we went into the dunes, and I didn't let her out, but she got to, walk around in her backpack. State parks, I've taken her to some state parks because pets are usually allowed in state parks. So we've done some of those. But most of the time, I will leave her wherever we're staying. So if we're pet sitting, she stays at the home. If we're in a hotel, she stays in the hotel. And that way I just don't have to worry about her. Especially there are some times where the temperatures are low and I can leave
Yeah.
her in the truck. So I've done that a few times. She loves just looking out the window and just looking. I have so many adorable pictures of her propped up on the window, looking out at scenery and
Right.
all kinds of stuff all over the country. So she's totally fine to be in the truck as long as the temperatures are appropriate. But otherwise, I leave her wherever we're staying. But yeah, there on the last week of this trip, we were driving a different place every day on our way back home. And so she was with me every day. And so wherever we were going that day, she was either in the backpack with me or she was, hanging out in the truck. I was leaving the windows
Yeah.
down for her. And one place we were at in one of the parks in Utah, it was a little bit warm, and so I was leaving the truck running and I was just going and looking at the stuff on the side of the road, whatever. And I had gone to look at some petroglyphs that were there's a parking lot and they're just right there. And I had left the truck running for her and I walked back and she had stood on the window button and
Oh,
rolled the window all the way down.
oh my
And
gosh.
so I walk up to the truck and she's just sitting in the back window with it completely open.
Oh
Oh,
man.
yeah. Yeah. She lost her truck privileges, her engine on privileges
Yeah,
on that
exactly.
day.
Yeah.
But
You're,
yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
that's a little close. Yeah, we could have lost our whole mode of
Yeah.
transportation there.
She's just sitting there looking out the window. So,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. So, are there tips for prepping? Has your pet always traveled with you? I mean, any tips for getting your pet kind of used to like traveling and new environments? Do you have some suggestions for people?
I think one of the biggest things I will say is that people will often ask me, how did you get her
Yeah,
used to that? Or I don't think, especially with a cat, I think dogs also, but especially with a cat, you can't make them adaptable. You can't make them good travel buddies if that's not their personality. And there's even some dogs that don't like being in the car or don't like traveling. There's, pets who get car sick. So I would
Oh,
say the biggest factor is your pet's personality. If they do not enjoy it, please don't force your lifestyle on them, I would say. My cat she's just, I found her in a parking lot.
oh, that's interesting.
And she's just always been a super low key, adaptable cat. I move a lot, and so she's moved. And I just notice every time we move and I, bring her in, she's just like, she'll go check everything out. And then she's like, okay, this is where we live now, you know?
Oh,
So that's what
wow.
I started noticing is that moving was not a big deal to her, whereas most cats will hide, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Even previous cats I've had, they will hide sometimes for days when things are new, and she just doesn't. And then we moved to a new state a little over a year ago, and so I had her. It was like a 9 hour trip in the car, and I just noticed like she was on my lap the whole time. She wasn't in the back, she wasn't on the floor, she was on my lap the whole
Oh,
time.
wow.
And so I just noticed that it just doesn't really bother her. So when I started traveling with her, the first trip we did together was just 4 hours away. It was for Christmas last year in 2023. We went to a pet sit that was 4 hours away. So not a huge road trip. And we were there for 10 days, and she was totally fine being in somebody else's home with somebody else's pets. And, so then I just thought, oh, maybe we could do this more. And so I started with just like 10 days to 2 weeks at a time, and then we would come home. And then it got a little bit longer. Then it was three
Right.
weeks at a time, and then we would come home. And over the summer, I run a summer camp in the state I used to live in. So it was, 3 weeks, and then we would come home. And then I just thought, there's so many places I want to visit that aren't close to here. So if I'm
Right.
going to go, this is going to be a long trip. And when we left, I actually didn't know when we were coming back. I had 5 weeks of pet sits scheduled, and
Right.
then I didn't know if we were going to come
Yeah.
back after that or keep going. And we ended up just going and going and going until I had a conference that I had to be back for. So we ended up including the conference being gone for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And it just doesn't phase her. So that was what I would say for people that want to travel with their pets is you have to assess their personality. And if especially cats are just, they're wired to like consistency, stability, that kind of thing. And so most cats are not wired for adventure and traveling.
Right.
Yeah. And so if that's the case, please don't expect your pet to do that. And like I said, even some dogs, just especially anxious dogs,
Oh, yeah.
that they aren't happy. And I think that's the key. If your pet isn't happy doing these things, please stop taking them, I think that's really the key is your pet's comfort level and happiness factor in
Right.
whatever it is that you're doing. And even like I see people that hike with cats on a leash. I don't think my cat loves that. And
Right.
so I don't do that with her,
Yeah.
And even when I have her in the backpack, if she starts meowing, that's kind of my sign that she's ready, she's done.
Yeah.
Uh, so I try to, pay attention to her comfort level and what she's okay with. But I have an SUV, I have a Toyota 4Runner.
Oh,
I
nice.
also take my bike everywhere. I'm a cyclist and I take
Oh,
my bike.
cool.
So it works out perfectly to have my bike and her litter box, and then her food and her water, and then my suitcases and whatever just in my 4Runner.
Well,
So,
yeah, that's a great vehicle. You got a lot of room. Yeah, that makes
yes.
sense.
Yes, it has a lot of room. The seats fold down flat. It's got the 60-40 split in the back seat, so I can put the smaller one down and my bike fits right in there. It gives her a little passageway to get
Yeah,
back to the litter box. It just really, it works perfectly. So yeah,
great.
it's been an amazing year for us.
Yeah, what an incredible year. It is so wonderful that you connected with a cat that enjoys travel, like you said. Yeah, that's all wonderful. So, um, really, these are some really great tips, and I think there's a lot of possibilities for people now with traveling and pet sitting. So, do you have a website you want to share if people want to reach out directly to you, or we'll share the code that you mentioned if people want to see your profile or connect with you and have you come watch their pets since you have a lot of experience after the past year.
Yeah, I think I have a website for my business, which kind of has nothing to do with traveling
Yeah,
or anything like that, but it is the reason I'm able to travel. I run a remote business. And so it's www.starfishsocialclub.org. So that's the business that I run. So like I said, it's not related to traveling, but it's the reason that I'm able to travel and do all the things that I do.
that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Steph. I really appreciate you sharing about the pet sitting. And we'll share a link to, you mentioned house, is it house sitters?
Trusted house sitters.
Trusted house sitters with your code in it in the show notes. So again, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.